Right, here we are. Let's see. Hello, good morning, good evening, good night, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Just going live here. It was going to take a second and wait, but I cannot tell you how excited I am about doing this little clip just to remind you that next week on April 30th at 11 a.m. Pacific, what is that? 12:02 Eastern, and I think 7 GMT. We've got the lovely, the vivacious, the delightful Clare Louise Owen, who is a fantastic lady that I've met. She's in North Wales in the UK. She is retrained as a life coach after she volunteered at a recovery center, and she's developed her own program based on her own life experiences to help women with drinking. And I am so delighted you're here. Thank you so much, Clare.
Thank you, Shelley, for having me here.
So I am just going to dive in and ask, it's like, so our community has complex needs parents and regular parents. I think any parent can probably relate to, the stress of parenting. And I think complex needs adds another layer, another set of sort of relentless pressures that people don't really get a break from. And there's very little specialized care. Like, you can't just hire the babysitter down the way. And, so we as complex needs parents sometimes don't get the breaks that we need. And so there's a lot of stress that builds up. And I know I have, definitely enjoyed my stiff drink once in a while, or, you finally get a break and you're like, oh, I need a bottle of wine, So I just, no, it doesn't necessarily need to turn into a problem, but it can be, something that is either let's go out and have a fun night, or, that, is sort of like a good thing might take a turn for the worse. And so we're just so, for the people that it has taken a turn for worse, or maybe you're wondering, how to cope without it. We're just so lucky to have you here and help us learn the pathway back and the healthy replacements once you're on that path. So can you tell us about what you do and a bit about yourself and what you're going to tell us next week?
Yes, thank you, Shelley. And it is exactly that, what you've just described. My mission isn't really to support people who are in crisis. My mission is to support the ladies who are wondering if they're not quite bad enough to quit, because that's a dangerous place to be. Sometimes we're looking for reasons to give us permission to keep going. If we can find other people whose lives maybe are still together and they're drinking more than you, then that gives us permission, and often would give permission to each other. If you're having a hard time, whether in your relationship or with your work, or because of your children, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. Often it's the only tool we've got in the box. The problem is we use it when we want to feel good, and we use it because we feel bad, and we use it because we're happy, and we use it. And this was the position that I found myself in. And I didn't hit rock bottom, but I was inspired to look at my own drinking because a good friend came back in my life, and it just looked different for her. It wasn't really fun anymore. And it just made me question whether I was still having fun. And I hadn't questioned it up until then. It was just something that I did. It was like, I've been to work all day, I deserve this, without really questioning how it was making me feel, not just on that moment, but the next day. Yeah. And I'm not talking about a hangover, because my tolerance got so high over the years. My tolerance increased along with my waistline,
Right? Well, and sometimes it's those, those contrasts when we suddenly realize, oh, I've been a bit of a frog in the hot water. I don't know if you know that story where, the frog's okay if you put it in there and then turn the thing off. You throw a frog in the hot water, obviously it'll jump out, but if you bring it to a boil, it'll probably stay there and die. So that's the situation that's really, like you say, the most dangerous, right? So what are you going to tell us about next Saturday? Can you kind of just give us an outline without the details, or?
My program is a 5-step system. So this was the chapter of my book, the stages that I went through, and maybe you're people on your group might recognize themselves in this. So if I can just share with you these 5 women, these are my pals, right?
Okay, all right.
So this is Susie. She's at stage 1. So she's stuck. She doesn't even realize that the problems in her life are because of the drink that's in her glass. She thinks that this is the glue holding her life together. So if you suggest to Susie, maybe there's a Susie watching, that she removes alcohol, she'll think you're absolutely crazy. And that's fine. I've been Susie. I understand that. But then what we do, because there's some stages, some little activities to do and ways of looking at this differently, you start becoming like Ollie. Now, Ollie's at stage 2. She's observing what's going on, not just with her own self, but people around her. So she's maybe listening to the ones who are encouraging her to drink, and maybe she can pinpoint the ones who would support her decision to quit. Right. She just starts observing. Okay. And eventually she becomes, after her coaching, like Bessie, she becomes bold, and this is her taking action. So she's sat for a while and she's observed, but now she's ready and she's going to join the group, or she's going to book a call, she's going to buy the book, right? Right. But that's not the end of it, because we've maybe all been bold. We've all done that. It's about momentum and keeping it going, right? So then you become engaged, like Elsie. So like Elsie, you're here at this stage. This is stage 4. You're actually engaging in your life. So you're taking action. You're not just staying at home with the curtains closed. You're going to the parties. You're catching up with friends. You're having those difficult conversations with the people in your life and saying, look, I used to rely on wine. I'm not relying on wine for the next few weeks. So things are going to get a bit prickly. Right. Like, help me out. Like, ask for help, learning to ask for help without shame, without judgment, without fear of what does it mean if this is hard. This isn't a fail, pass or fail. It's a no-fail system. So even if you get here and you drink, it doesn't mean, oh, well, I failed. It says, right, what happened? What was it about that situation that you believed alcohol still to be the answer? And you unpick that one bit thing. It's just what you believe. Yeah. It's nothing more than that. And then slowly over time, and everyone's different, so everybody's time's different, you become rebalanced like Riley, where it's no longer as important to you. You've got other tools in your box. You use other things. Like, I've really relied since menopausal feelings, which would have initially led me to have a drink, because that feeling of just like irritability. And well, if I'm honest, when I was drinking, I had that feeling a lot of the time, and I wouldn't have unpicked what it was without removing alcohol. But now that I have, it's like, right, I can feel it coming. It's hormonal. I know that it's coming around the time. And I have things like these oils, like clary sage. Now, if you had suggested to me, get some oils instead of wine, I would have said, are you crazy, insane lady? You clearly do not know me. Like, I would have been, it's hard maybe to get across. I share the disco ball because that was who I was. It was like party time. That's what I thought I had to do to have fun. And now I feel like I'm sparkly all the time. It's not just when I drink Prosecco. Do you know what I mean? And it is, you get to do that. You get to switch that energy and motivation. You get to know what's getting in the way, and you have the time and the clarity and the people around you to help you to change it. And it's not about belittling people's problems, is it? It's just about identifying what they are, looking for other solutions.
Well, and I think any solutions that can help are really welcome by our community, and they, we don't get a lot of help a lot of times. So we really appreciate you taking the time to come be with us next weekend and getting into meeting all these lovely ladies and how to do it, and then connecting with people if they need help afterwards. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I'm really excited. I can't wait to see you on April 30th. So everybody can join in. And if you have any questions for Claire, leading up to, or things you'd like her to touch on, I'm sure she'd be more than welcome to, put comments in the post. And
I'll come back and answer. I've got a couple of little videos I'd like to share with you all as well. So if that's all right, just little promotion videos to get you to see exactly, how this has really changed my life. It's really important to me that I get that across to the people who think they're not bad enough to quit. This isn't about being in crisis. It's about knowing that you've got an option. There's other options.
Yeah. Well, and like how we can be a little bit healthier, right? So
Absolutely.
awesome. Okay. Well, we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye for
Okay.
now.
Talk to you soon. Bye.